Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So, brand new spoiler, exciting spoiler, familiar yet different, yet still familiar because we've already kind of had this familiar before. Before I confuse myself any further, let's jump into it. We've got Karn Legacy Reforged. That's right. In Bomb Aftermath, March the Machine Aftermath, we've got a brand new Karn with a brand new but old look, because actually Karn did start off as a creature, then became a planeswalker, then becoming a creature. I guess story spoiler stuff, though. Obviously you see this now. Anyway, so yeah, apparently Karn lost the spark, which I don't think was Karn's to begin with, right? Wasn't it Venzer's spark? Lore mages in the comments below. Let me know how accurate I am. Here we go. Yeah, I believe Karn got Venzer's spark to save Karn from the oil or whatnot. And then the oil thing happened anyways, but Karn was fine. And then Karn used the, spark to save other oil planeswalker things. But yeah, so it's kind of like re-gifting, I guess. Because, like, Venzer was like, here, take this. And then Venzer became like a puppet dude later. But then, yeah, Karn's like, oh, thanks. I'm going to use this later. Okay, cool. That aside, the exciting part about this card is, well, Karn is back as a creature again. One of the, maybe the very first, actually, colorless commander, actually, which is quite interesting. But now, a really exciting new version of it. Star, Legendary Artifact Creature, Gold Mech, costs 5. Took me forever to get to this part because of all the interesting lore bits. Anyways, Karn's power and toughness are each equal to the greatest mana value among artifacts you control. Now, I am very, very glad they did not specify, like, non-creature or, creature artifact. It's just any artifact you have in play, whatever the biggest one is, mana value-wise, that is how large your commander is. And of course, with your commander being 5, yeah, it's at least a 5/5 because it does not specify other. So therefore, yeah, Karn just a 5/5 at the bare minimum, which is nice for 5 mana. But yeah, you can really easily for 5 mana have Karn be, well, like 11/11 or whatnot. Not too hard. Anyways, at the beginning of your upkeep, add colors for each artifact you control. This mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells until end of turn. You don't lose this mana substance phase end. That is quite spicy, quite juicy. I absolutely love it. It is somewhat similar to like a card that we'll talk about here in a bit. But yeah, kind of like a mana bank in a way, like for the turn. Obviously, you get your upkeep. That'd be kind of a bummer in a lot of scenarios if you actually couldn't just utilize that mana during your turn because your upkeep would go away for your first main phase. But yeah, Karn's like, no, you can keep this mana until the end of the turn. Until the end of turn, yeah. So you do lose it after your turn, which is, well, reasonable and okay. Regardless, again, in a colorless deck, yeah, you're going to have a lot of artifacts. And of course, there's plenty of ways to make even more artifacts because this also does not specify, like, non-token artifacts, which you'd think it might. It doesn't, so the more and more token artifacts we have in play, well, the easier it's going to be to go wide in artifacts and to, well, make an absurd amount of mana to, cast more artifacts, which maybe make even more artifacts. So, yeah, you can have an absurd amount of mana. With this card, they can have an absurd amount of power. Karn's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah! Now, if you're excited about Karn like I am, make sure you check out my card list link. I almost said Karn list link. Card list link in the description below. It's going to have all the budget buys, cards that are less than $1 I'm going to take you through, and also the price your picks, cards that are more than $1, maybe though within your budget. Regardless, with all that said, let's jump into those budget buys. We're going to start things off with, well, a piece of equipment that Karn might want to suit up with, which is going to be Prowler's Helm. I love this card. It is fantastic. Equipped creature can't be blocked except by walls. Equipped 2, very cheap, very effective, efficient way to basically make Karn unblockable, essentially. I mean, okay, unless you're, a friend is playing the Arcades the Strategist Walls deck, yeah, that might not be so good then. But other than that, the vast majority of decks out there have absolutely no walls, so it's going to be able to get through. And again, Karn can be a really heavy hitter really, really quickly. So because of that, let's also talk about another piece of equipment, which is Fire Shrieker. Yeah, again, like I mentioned earlier, we'll talk about the example card here in a bit. Yeah, you can get Karn up to like an 11/11 quite efficiently, quite effectively, quite quickly. And by doing so, well, you can kind of make Karn into a one-shot KO with something like Fire Shrieker. At the very least, probably a two-shot KO, right? Equipped creature has double strike. So Karn, well, at the very least, I should say again, with a 5/5 would be hitting for 10, which is not quite a two-shot KO. But yeah, again, the bigger artifacts you get into play, the bigger Karn's going to get, and the twice as hard hitting with this kind of a card. That sentence did not make any sense, but I'm going to keep going. And yeah, again, having ways to get Karn through would be great with that. Moving on, there are plenty of great ways to reduce the cost of your artifacts. So again, you can be even more efficient with that mana that you have, well, with your, lands and, mana ramp and whatnot, but also with the mana that Karn just gives you. Karn's like, here, have this mana. Karn's just really good at gifting, right? Again, gifting, Venzer's Spark Away, and also giving you mana. Very giving, Karn. Anyway, artifact spells you cast cost 1 to cast. Foundry Inspector, other cards like this are fantastic in an artifact-centric deck, which this is definitely going to be. Moving on, I just have to bring this up because it is budget-friendly for at least like 5 seconds now. Thank you for the most recent reprint. Semblance Anvil, a great card. Imprint, enters battlefield, exile another card from your hand. Hint, hint, it's going to be an artifact. Spells you cast a chariot card type with the exile card cost to cast. Hey, you want to cast a lot of reduced cost artifacts, maybe even some free artifacts with this in play? Absolutely. So again, making your cards even more efficient can just help you churn through your deck even quicker. Speaking of efficiency, Horizon Stone. Horizon Stone says, step aside, Karn, I've got this whole, mana banking thing figured out. If you would lose unspent mana, that mana becomes colorless instead. So this is actually quite funny because, well, Karn again says you basically can only utilize that mana right for, I think it's non-artifact. Oh gosh, no, ignore the screen moving really quick. Beginning of your upkeep, add a each artifact can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells. So that specifically, again, you can't cast non-artifact spells with this. You can use the mana for other things as well. There aren't too many non-artifact spells, I would say, in colorless. There are certain ones, some that are very effective. But yeah, this essentially allows you to kind of get around that in a way because, hey, at the end of your turn, that mana just becomes colorless, and now it is not kind of within that restriction as well. It doesn't still have that restriction that Karn gave it, essentially, because it just kind of transferred. So, I mean, it's still colorless, which becomes colorless, but it is still, yeah, it's all great and confusing. Magic is a very confusing game sometimes. Regardless, it's a great way to store up mana from turn to turn to turn. So again, you can utilize that mana post that turn that Karn gives it to you. And use it you shall with fantastic abilities like Mishra's Self-Replicator. Again, keep in mind, it does say you can't utilize that mana, to cast non-artifact spells. It doesn't say you can't utilize it for abilities. You can do that. It says whenever you cast a historic spell, you pay 1 if you do create a token that's a copy of Mishra's Self-Replicator. So historic spells include, let's see, sagas, legendary, and artifacts. Yeah, you're going to have basically an all artifacts deck for the most part. So cast those, make more and more copies of this. Just, the entire field is just going to be Mishra's Self-Replicator, essentially. And you're just going to make an absurd amount of these, filling the board to, guess what? Get even more mana from Karn the next turn so that you can make even more of these. And yeah, every single time you're casting an artifact, you're basically be like, yeah, let's just make a ton of these. Because again, every single time you cast one, and if you got more of these in play, they each have the other copies, the other ability, it's going to be crazy and great and fantastic and fun and, well, fun for you. Moving on, Mirror Battlesphere. Or you can just make a bunch really quick, in one. Hey, Mirror Battlesphere, cost 7, enters the battlefield, make 4 1/1 mirror colorless artifact creature tokens. Great, also has an attack trigger. Cool. So at the very least, again, with this 7 mana, keep in mind that, the higher the cost of some of these cards, the better that is for your commander. Again, your commander now is a 3-shot KO, at the very least, right, being a 7/7. And on top of that, you added 5 to the count of artifacts just by playing this. And Karn's going to give you a lot of mana. Of course, there are other ones that can give even more, like Pentavus. Hey, it costs 7 also, so nice. Pump card kind of, right? And there's battlefield 5 counters on it. By paying 1, you can remove a counter from it to make a Pentavite. So, yeah, you can also get more counters on this. You might have some other counter synergies. You can, get those Pentavites out there and kind of just, play with the amount of mana that you need for your turn. Moving on, yeah, a card that I've kind of alluded to a little bit, Metalwork Colossus. I love this card so much. 10/10 construct costs 11 mana, but you're never going to pay that. Usually it's free. It costs X less gas for the total mana converted mana cost of non-creature artifacts you control. So if you've got a lot of, let's say, like mana rocks in play or whatnot, or other artifacts that just aren't creatures, cool. Reduce the cost of this, pay 0 for it, get into play, and now guess what? This is a 10/10, but your commander is at 11/11. And you're going to be like, hey, what's up? 2-shot KO on anyone, Fire Shrieker, Prowler's Helm, goodbye, opponent. And you're going to say all those things really quickly like that too. You could also get this one back if you need to. Sacrifice your artifacts, bring it back from your grave to your hand. So it's a great way to get it back when you need it to be a threat itself, and also to make your commander an even bigger threat as well. Also, there might be some artifacts that actually want to be sacrificed too, so keep that in mind. Regardless, now that we've gone through the budget buys, let's talk about the pricier picks, and there are some great ones out there. Let's start things off with Retro Fitter Foundry. $16 for this card. Goodness gracious. Pay 3, untap it. Nice. Pay 2, tap, make a 1/1 servo artifact. Nice. Pay 1 and tap, or sacrifice a servo, make a Thopter. Cool, which is also an artifact. Tap, sacrifice a Thopter, make a 4/4 construct artifact token. Now, yeah, you can do all these things if you want, or you can just, utilize a lot of the mana that you're going to make with your commander, just dump it into this to keep untapping it to make a bunch of servos, even if you want to do that. Just again, flood the board with more and more of these so that you can say, you know what, yeah, Karn, I've got a lot of additional math for you to do, okay? I've got a lot of additional artifacts in play. Speaking of additional math, let's double it. Stronic Resonator. Yeah, this is going to be worth it essentially all the time. Pay 2, tap, copy target, triggered ability. You control 2 targets for the copy. Again, our upkeep trigger with Karn is a triggered ability, so it's going to be like, hey, I want to make 15 mana, or however many artifacts. So let's say it's 15, okay? Cool. Is it going to be worth it to pay 2 mana to tap this and copy that? Absolutely. I mean, basically almost the entire game is going to be worth it as long as you have a couple of artifacts in play. So yeah, you basically pay 2, so you're down to about 13. I mean, you don't get that many. You have to use your lands for that. Regardless, you're down to basically 13 plus 15 is 28 mana instead of just 15, nearly doubling it up essentially. I mean, you are doubling that mana specifically, but you have to use mana to do it. You know what I mean? Very efficient, very effective, incredible. Speaking of efficient, oh, gross. Okay. Caddy Manufacturer. I can't believe it's actually only $1.10 right now. Goodness gracious, that reprint did a lot of work for this. Here we go. If you create a clue, food, or treasure token, so create one of each. Yeah, again, like I mentioned, Karn does not specify, hey, non-token. So because of that, you can lean really heavily into tokens, and it's really easy to make, a bunch of food, or a bunch of clues, or a bunch of treasures once you're set up with certain cards. Do so, and then make basically 3 times as many things because of this card. So yeah, make more and more, and get more mana with Karn. Speaking of mana, Clock of Omens. Hey, you're probably gonna have some mana rocks in this deck as well. And with that, well, you can make them be more effective, more efficient with all those, tokens you're creating, all the artifacts you're getting in play. Tap 2 untapped artifacts you control, untap target artifacts. So again, if you've got a mana rock in play, like say, like a Soul Ring even, the Ward Power Stone kind of, that can tap for 2. You tap 2 artifacts, you untap that, you tap it. Basically, those 2 artifacts that you tap, each tap for 1 mana. So you have 2 treasures in play. Maybe don't sacrifice them, just utilize them for mana permanently, thanks to something like this. And also, this can help with another card we'll talk about here in a little bit. But not before we talked about Tempting Contract. A great card. Well, that I wish a little more budget friendly. Beginning of your upkeep, each opponent may create a treasure token. For each opponent who does, you create a treasure token. Opponents are greedy sometimes, and they're like, I really wish I had 1 more mana. Okay, I'll do it. So cool. They make that treasure token, and then you get a couple treasure tokens, and then that adds to your mana value for your commander. Again, making more and more mana. Speaking of which, Blink Moth Urn, a card that Karn probably was actually, I think I said Karn, a card that Karn was probably based off of a little bit at least. Maybe each player's pre-combat main phase of Blink Moth Urn is untapped. That player adds colors for each artifact they control. Again, very similar to Karn's ability essentially, but this one affects everyone except if you can tap it. So again, if you've got something like, Clock of Omens, tap it and your opponents don't get any value out of it. Regardless, it's a great way to kind of double up on the amount of mana that you're going to be generating. This and Karn together can give you an absurd amount of mana that you can dump into things like, well, Mirror Matrix. Mirror Matrix is indestructible. That's nice. It says all mirror get +1/+1. That's also nice. And pay 5, put a 1/1 mirror artifact creature token in play. Yeah, this is a great mana dump for you. Just again, more and more mana into this equals more and more mana you get on your, next turn, the turn after that, the turn after that, because again, Karn's gonna be like, oh, that's another one. That's another one. Another mirror. Cool. Awesome. And again, also, just that nice little pump effect is nice for your little mirror army. Again, you have other ways to make, a mirror like Mirror Battlesphere, etc., etc. So it's a great card for a deck like this. Speaking of which, Tambio's Journal. Another great way to repeatedly make tokens. Being able to keep investigate means make a clue. You can also tap, sacrifice 3 clues, and go tutor any card in your hand. That's really nice. And yeah, there's some really gross things you can go get, like maybe go get Academy Manufacturer, which you then put in play. So then every single time that you're making one of those clues on your upkeep, you're also making a treasure and a food. So yeah, there's great combinations that can work with this as well. And oh, gross. Mycosynth Golem. Yeah, I forgot to put this in here as well. So yet another 11 cost mana value, which obviously pumps Karn quite a bit. 4/5 affinity for artifacts, artifact creature spells you have affinity for artifacts. Basically, you're going to be able to play all your artifact creatures for free. So if your commander ever gets dealt with, play it again for free. Because, hey, you got artifacts in play. You're going to be able to replay them. Yeah, this is a really, really interesting commander. I really like the design of this one. Again, it can be a heavy hitter, but it also can be one that can provide you an absurd amount of mana. Slight restriction, but not really, again, for a colorless commander. But still, yeah, keep that in mind. Anyways, a lot of exciting things that you can do with it. Again, make sure you check out that card list. Link in the description below if you are interested in this brand new Karn. Card. There we go. I'll get the hang of it at some point. But yeah, let me know your thoughts are on it in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.